Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, for 1 year as we read through St. Faustina's diary. Join me, Amy Thomas, each day for a short reading out of the diary which brought us a deeper understanding of Christ's divine mercy. Here we are, Catholic pilgrims, on day 194 of our readings from St. Faustina's diary. Have you ever encountered a bad Christian? You probably have. You've actually probably been a bad Christian at some point in your life. And the sad thing is that a lot of people leave their Catholic faith or just Christianity in general because they've had a bad experience with another Christian. And so they feel as if, if I'm going to be Christian or if I'm going to follow the Christian faith, then, now I've encountered somebody who's bad. Therefore, Christianity must be bad and I have to leave it. And on one hand, you can sympathize with people who have run into bad Christians, thinking off the top of my head, especially of those who have been abused at the hands of priests. And it's a very understandable thing that those people who have been grievously hurt would want to walk away from Christianity and from the Catholic faith. And I can see why that would be something they would want to do. But we always have to remember that our eyes have to be focused on God and what He wants. And realize and recognize that most likely we are going to be let down by other Christians. So that is what we're going to talk about today in Notebook 2, numbers 903 through 910. January 30th, 1937, one-day retreat. I am coming to know God's greatness more and more, and to rejoice in Him. I remain unceasingly with Him in the depths of my heart. It is in my own soul that I most easily find God. During my meditation, I heard these words: My daughter, you give me most glory by patiently submitting to my will, and you win for yourself greater merit than that which any fast or mortification could ever gain for you. Know, my daughter, that if you submit your will to mine, you draw upon yourself my special delight. This sacrifice is pleasing to me and full of sweetness. I take great pleasure in it. There is power in it. Examination of conscience. Continuation of the same to unite myself to the merciful Christ. Practice. Interior silence, that is, strict observance of silence. In difficult moments, I will fix my gaze upon the silent heart of Jesus stretched upon the cross, and from the exploding flames of His merciful heart will flow down upon me power and strength to keep fighting. An extraordinary thing, that in winter a canary comes to my window and sings beautifully for a while. I have tried to check whether there is a canary in a cage somewhere around, but there is none anywhere, not even in the neighboring ward. One of the other patients also heard it, but only once, and wondered how a canary could be singing in this freezing season of the year. Oh Jesus, how sorry I feel for poor sinners. Jesus, grant them contrition and repentance. Remember your own sorrowful passion. I know your infinite mercy and cannot bear it that a soul that has cost you so much should perish. Jesus, give me the souls of sinners. Let your mercy rest upon them. Take everything away from me, but give me souls. I want to become a sacrificial host for sinners. Let the shell of my body conceal my offering, for your most sacred heart is also hidden in a host, and certainly you are a living sacrifice. Transform me into yourself, O Jesus, that I may be a living sacrifice and pleasing to you. I desire to atone at each moment for poor sinners. The sacrifice of my spirit is hidden under the veil of the body. The human eye does not perceive it, and for that reason it is pure and pleasing to you. O my Creator and Father of great mercy, I trust in you, for you are goodness itself. Souls, do not be afraid of God, but trust in Him, for He is good and His mercy is everlasting. We know each other mutually, O Lord, in the dwelling of my heart. Yes, now it is I who am receiving you as a guest in the little home of my heart, But the time is coming when you will call me to your dwelling place, which you have prepared for me from the beginning of the world. Oh, what am I compared to you, O Lord? The Lord is leading me into a world unknown to me. He makes known to me his great grace, but I am afraid of it and will not submit to its influence insofar as it may be in my power, until I am assured by my spiritual director as to what this grace is. So I had a friend in college that I'm pretty sure I've told you all about. It's getting to the point now where I can't remember everything that I've actually said. But I had a friend in college, and when I met her, she was a Christian. She came from a very different background than I did. I grew up as a Disciples of Christ Protestant. She was some type of Pentecostal. And she was a very, very happy person. Just really a great gal to be around. Always smiling, always optimistic, very romantic. She loved romance and everything, and just a really good friend. And over our time together as friends, she started to reveal to me what her growing up life was like, and it was not good. Her denomination that she belonged to was, in my belief, just very restrictive and abusive, I would say, and controlling, and way off the rails from what Christianity is supposed to be. And my friend, her father, was kind of sort of like a leader, I guess, in this Pentecostal group. And he was a heavy drug user, and to my knowledge, at least very emotionally abusive. I don't know if he was ever physically abusive. But she wasn't ever allowed to have toys because toys were from the devil, and they lived in this compound, and it was just weird, just really weird. And over time, she has become an atheist, a very, very ardent atheist. And one of the reasons that I believe she has become an atheist is because of what she went through as a young person under the influence of her father and the church that she belonged to. And I think she did not respect her father at all. He's since passed away. But they did not have a good relationship. He called himself a Christian, but he was not a good father from her account. And I think she got a vision of Christianity that was really bad. And a part of me really feels for her, because I know she went through some terrible things. When she was still a Christian, she was still a really joyful person. Now, as an atheist, she's very kind of bitter and angry all the time. And I know a lot of it stems from, her problems that she had growing up. But her situation is a clear example of how bad Christians can push people away from Christianity. And we've seen this over and over again. Like I said at the beginning, we have people who were abused by priests in very, very horrific ways. And those people, victims, end up leaving the Catholic Church and even Christianity altogether because they equate what that person did, who was an authority figure in the church, to Christianity. And so the two are linked, and they just can't, accept the idea that they would continue to belong to an organization that did such horrible things to them, or that a person within the organization did such horrible things to them. And that is why it is so, so important that we are good examples as Christians. We have to be on our A game, because if we give bad example, or if we cause scandal, it can cause people to turn away. Even Christ said, if you cause one of these little children to sin, it would be better for you if you had a millstone tied around your neck. Basically, you can say you follow me, but if you're causing people to fall into sin or leading people away, that's not good at all. It would be better for you if you drowned in the water because of what's going to happen to you. And we have to take that into account. We have to remember that our example can really cause a lot of scandal in people. On the other side, we also have to remember that human beings, even though they belong to the organization, do not always represent well. And so we have to remember that Christ Church is full of sinners, full of broken people who are going to mess up and cause scandal and do even horrific things. But that doesn't mean that the church is false, and it doesn't mean that God is not there. And that's so hard for us to say to people, and it sounds kind of callous, and it sounds like we don't really care, trying to convince a person to stay with a church or an organization that has hurt them so deeply. But the thing to remember is, and I'm getting this from a line today in Sister Faustina's readings, this is what we have to remember. Souls, do not be afraid of God, but trust in Him, for He is good and His mercy is everlasting. So the bad people in our lives that really deeply wound us, being afraid of them is totally understandable. Like my friend, I think she had kind of a fear of her father and a disrespect of him because she didn't want to turn out like him. And she thought that if she remained a Christian, that she would end up looking like her father, or that Christianity meant that she would end up looking like her father. And human beings are hard to trust because they can let you down. They really can. And not all human beings are good. They can do bad things. We all do bad things to each other. And sometimes we're not merciful. Sometimes we're just, clinging to our unforgiveness, and we're being supremely judgmental and not merciful. But not God. These are the things He calls us to. God calls us to be trustworthy, to be good, to be merciful, because that's what He is. And so if you find a Christian who is not trustworthy, possibly someone to fear, who is not good, who is not merciful, they're not living up to what God wants them to live up to. They are not living up to the Christian ideal. They are not living up to the teachings of Christianity. And so they're not representative of what Christianity stands for. And so we have to remember that. With God, we do not need to be afraid of Him. Yes, sometimes God allows bad things to happen to us, and that's hard to understand. But He gave us free will, and because of that, we can choose to do right or wrong. And when we choose to do wrong, oftentimes it hurts other people, not just ourselves. And so, we've had the free will talk before, but God still is good, and He's still trustworthy, and He can still heal us, and He is merciful. Those are His attributes, and that's what He wants from all Christians, and that's what He's trying to teach us when we read the Bible, we hear about the lives of the saints. Those are the things we are supposed to be living up to. And so if you are somebody who has been, deeply wounded by a Christian, it's tough. It really is tough. And it's hard sometimes to think about staying with Christianity or sticking it out with the Catholic Church or hanging in there with God when you've been so wounded by people who claim to love God. And so we just have to remember God is all good. He is trustworthy. We stay close to Him, even if we're hurt by people who claim to be followers of Him. Everything in the end will work out for our benefit. It really will. If we run away from God because we've been hurt by a Christian, we will still have all of the hurt and the baggage and the pain, but we won't have God to help heal us and comfort us and love us. And so we just have to hold on and trust in God that He will make all things right. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I will see you back here for day 195. And until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.